What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quarter. Hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful day. And I've just installed Elden Ring on my brand new Meta PC's computer. By the way, use code the Quartering to save. Well, let's go build one and have a little fun doing that. Why not, drive a bunch of traffic to their website? But anyway, I'm excited to play. As a content creator, I kind of also want to stream it. Sometimes I want to keep some experiences for myself, but this feels like something I'd want to share with people, especially since I'd probably have a horribly difficult time with it. But the journalists are at it again, having meltdowns about just how difficult the game is. And in a world where pretty much the most popular console is the Nintendo Switch, and there are thousands of amazingly easy to play options out there, every single time a game from Software comes out, there's innumerable articles out there whining about difficulty. Look, let me be very clear. There is 0% chance any of these clowns ever grew up playing Nintendo Entertainment System. There is no way they've ever played Castlevania. There's no way they've ever played Ghosts and Goblins. There's no way they've ever tried to defeat Battletoads or even some of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games I played when I was young. Infinite continues these days. Endless tips and tricks online. Back in the day, we had to call a hotline for $3 a minute for tips. The best thing you would get is a Nintendo Power that actually had the levels laid out, which could save you hours. So when I hear a game is difficult, I'm actually into that, because while I do enjoy sometimes just kind of cruising through a game and having fun, there are other times where I want a challenge, or where because the challenge, and again, I think that this attitude comes from a generation of kids that grew up with participation trophies and stuff. But the point is, it's worth it. Anything the more difficult it is, the more you're going to be excited when you finally beat it. The idea of even Red Dead Redemption, unless you go out of your way to turn up the difficulty, I think I died less than a handful of times in that game. And I want to go back and play with more difficulty, but I've already, seen how it ends. The idea, there are still games that I remember the moment when I finally defeated them. Can't say that for many modern games. The Souls games offer you that experience, but it wouldn't be a Souls style or a game from Software if it weren't for journos melting down over it. Now, this via Sophia Narwitz, by the way, a very solid follow on Twitter. I've known her for a very long time. And if you already follow her, maybe send some positive vibes her way. You see, the whole article is a blogger crying because they don't have the capacity to learn a game. Also, it tells you how stats work. At the bottom of the status menu is literally text telling you to push a specific button to see descriptions. Here's the article. Let's be reasonable. Elden Ring is not the greatest game of all time. Well, okay. I mean, I don't know if anybody's saying that. But this is just the hate bait stuff. Here you can say, I don't really care about the difficulty. It should be more accessible in terms of having more settings that allow disabled people to play it. Look, I know Ricky Berwick, I don't know if he was memeing, but it was difficult for him to play. But I've also seen Crypt Daddy release videos of, but I've seen Crypt Daddy defeat Souls games. In the next slide, you see another argument. But the hugely demanding difficulty, necessity of repeating failure, and complete lack of an F given for helping new players understand even an inch of this massive open world cannot be dismissed as get good. Oh, yes, it can. When I was young, my parents didn't have the money to buy me video games. So I did what a lot of kids did. Friday afternoon, got out of school, did my homework as quick as possible, then begged my parents to drive me to the grocery store, which is all we had to rent video games, until later there was a place called Video Plus, which I think is a Midwestern thing. And then later, Blockbuster, but that was much later down the road. And then you rented whatever they had. Yeah, there were a few games that you always wanted, but they were always gone because the smart kids rented them on Thursday nights. So you'd get a game, and there were times I remember renting the Simpsons game. and not getting past the first level. And you know what you did? You sat there that whole weekend and you played that game and you tried and you tried and you tried to figure it out. Some people might say that's not fun. I say that's what creates the memory. I remember the Simpsons game because it was so difficult. What do you do with the bottle rockets? What do you do with the spray cans? I don't know. I just turned the game on and I played it and I tried to figure it out. And like just getting out of one level into a next level was always a big goal, you know, a big thing to remember back then. Now, you could argue that you don't want to be frustrated by games, and I'll completely understand that. And there are times that I don't want to be frustrated by games either. But to say that the game is leaving you out by being too difficult is absurd when you could literally play any other game you want. Especially if you're talking about this is not only the early frontrunner for all the major end of the year awards, but for the greatest game of all time. I don't think it's, I don't know. I guess I'll find out. She also writes, where I do go, what I do there, how do stats work? What do these portions mean? Can this thing be upgraded? Can that one? No one answers. Only get good. And then she writes, the level design secretly teaches players how to play. Right away in the opening area, you encounter a huge guy on a horse who will instantly end you because he outlevels you. You're supposed to lose that fight. That's how you learn that you can and should go around certain enemies in an open world. I remember learning this for the first time in Final Fantasy series. Final Fantasy VII in particular, when you leave the city for the first time and you see that machine, and you're like, oh, what's this? And then it just obliterates you, right? It sets the scene for what you have to do to the game to get to the level. I remember getting Knights of the Round Table and then going back and defeating them. She also writes, I understand a game for not being for everyone, so if Elden Ring isn't for you and you don't want to push through it, that's fine and dandy. This applies to bloggers too. The problem here is that someone who writes about games for a living should lacks an understanding of basic design elements. How do... Oh, yeah, right. On Friday, I streamed Elden Ring. It was my first time playing, and after the horse dude ended me, I explained to my audience that why he was as hard as he actually was. It's basic elements like this that a games journalist and blogger should understand. Apologies for the likes and ums. I'm an awkward speaker. No, she's great. And she creates YouTube videos. I don't know if she's still keeping up on that. And, you know, it's amazing. And like, even this, Elden Ring's world is full of mystery, but I'd rather wait for a guide. Gonna wait a bit before I put a ring on it. Now, that's fine. This article isn't even like disparaging the game. It's more of a hilarious admission that you need a guide to play a game. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, literally, I'm not like, doesn't make you a bad player if you need a guide. I remember having a guide for Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation, I think because it came with it, or there's like a combo pack. There's nothing wrong with it. Guides, look, the idea is like you want people to have some level of frustration so they feel like they can overcome difficulty and overcome challenges, but you don't want it to ruin their experience. You don't want it to be so brutally difficult that they give up after 5 minutes. So if that saves, 15% of players who get frustrated quickly, they spend the $20 on a guide, that's entirely fine. That's a totally fine thing to spend your money on. And I don't meme on that. Even people that use cheats, I think you rob yourself of an experience. I've talked about many times how I read about like an infinite silver or infinite gold glitch in Red Dead Redemption 2, and I did it. And then I regret it deeply because for the rest of the game, I never cared about money. I missed out on the key aspect of survival. So I had like all the best weapons, infinite everything, because the money, I had like thousands of gold bars or silver bars or whatever at the time, I forget. But like, I wish I never would have done that because it would have made, like interacting with bandits and taking side jobs more important to save up for better weapons. And that's just my opinion. Maybe people just don't care and they want to get through the story mode and everything. But you see, like, I don't want to be surprised in Elden Ring. Without punishing these games, our surprises usually mean an instant failure. And an instant failure in these games also means a loss of progress. Hours of work and meticulous rune accumulation suddenly wiped out because something I wasn't prepared for, like a teleporting treasure chest or a surprise bear skeleton. I think that's fine. I think that's fine. I don't necessarily, the get good meme, I think, is funny. And when journalists like whine about a game because they're not good enough at it, I think it's 100% applicable for them. But, the idea that a game being difficult wouldn't allow you to be, or is somehow bad because it's hard, that's where I draw the line. Elden Ring, is the boss fight too difficult? No, it's not. It is not too difficult. I mean, the idea, no, it's the perfect amount of difficulty. It's supposed to be hard. Why? How many times do we have to teach you this, old man? You can see, Miyazaki, sees Elden Ring's difficulty as part of their identity. I agree. I 100% agree. And I think Elden Ring is easier than the Souls games. I think more people can play Elden Ring without the brutal difficulty of the Souls genre. And I hope people are willing to challenge themselves and they don't let these wimpy game journalists talk them out of experiencing what will surely be one of the best games, at least this year, maybe ever. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.